no back problems, no knee problems. Well, then, that's why he's the GOAT.
He's looking healthy, and by the way, he's making his way out
He's
here
right
to our
there,
stadium
actually.
set. He's coming
Fresh.
in, and we appreciate him making the call out here, looking very relaxed. Hello, Roger. Come on in. Nice to see you. I'm going to wire him up here so we can hear what the man himself has to say. That's quick. Keep it quick.
Our sound guys are a little aggressive, Roger. They are.
That's
but,
all good.
we got to get you here while you have you.
How did it feel out there? I mean, we were just showing a few of the highlights and showing you probing him a little bit late in that first set, using the slice backhand. Looked like he wasn't that keen on coming to net, and you sort of sensed that.
Yeah, I mean, I think he plays very much a waiting game, especially with that backhand cross court. And then it was interesting how in the second set he started to go much more up the line and hitting it bigger. And I knew he had the choice to do either one of them. And I think those 2 points we had in the first set, where there was a lot of waiting, sort of a waiting game going on, they both went my way, and I think they were crucial just for the mind, to know that if we have to do this, or I'm happy to do it too. And then, of course, the margins were slim there. I think that love 40 hold was definitely the key.
When we were talking about how I felt like early on he was really trying to be aggressive to your backhand and see sort of test it. You're obviously very aware of that. Then he all of a sudden started trying to go down the line. Are you completely aware that, okay, now he's changed the mindset, now it's my type of tennis I want to play?
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't know him that well yet to know exactly how much it is of the game plan, or is it just doing it 3 times and then going back to, rallying across court, and I do believe he would have done it if I would have given him probably more opportunities on my own service games. The problem is, like, he was really never really getting into my service games that much, so he never got a neutral. And I think that's why he just kept on shooting. And sure, that's maybe what I prefer more, but at the same time, he did quite a good job there in that second set, and all of a sudden, it's just maybe too much of a high-risk tennis.
I'd like to take this opportunity, Roger, to ask you a question, because this is probably the most common question I get. I'm sure you probably have an idea of what it is.
All right.
One of them is, will Roger win another major? Okay, I'm not going to ask you that. We hear what the fans think. Okay.
They seem to know. I don't know.
You don't know. But the other one is, how much longer will we see Roger Federer on the tennis court? I always try to give the answer that I think that you would say, but you know what? You're here. Let's hear it from you. What do you think about it?
Yeah, so I don't know if I'm going to win another slam, I mean, I thought the same, years ago. I didn't know, and I won 3 more. I definitely was fortunate. I did a lot of the right things. I have a wonderful team. I was able to stay positive in my head and get it done somehow, and then ride sort of the wave of the confidence. And confidence is such an important factor in tennis or in sports in general. And then how much longer I'm going to play, I wish I knew, because that would help. that would really help me with my planning for my family and for everybody. But my wife's okay for me not to know, and I think by taking it, I don't want to say one day at a time, but sort of 6 months by 6 months. We're not thinking about retirement, because I feel like the more I think about it and the more I talk about it, the closer I am to it. So, and that's why I have no plans yet. There was talks about the Tokyo Olympics and all that, but that's not true. So I'm just happy I'm healthy.
Can I try to give the answer that I give and just see what you think? I want to hear what you think about it. Because what I normally say is, first of all, he's playing at a still incredibly high level. Right?
Thank you.
Still ranked very high.
Okay.
And the other one is, as long as you think you can compete in these tournaments, the Miamis of the world, if you ever get to the point where you think you can't win these tournaments, would you stop then?
Yeah, you're probably right. I mean, I think it goes in combination as well. If my family wouldn't be happy, then I wouldn't be doing it, or my wife, for that matter, the same. Then if I felt like I had too much pain in my body, that wouldn't be fun anymore, when I realized, well, the body is not allowing me to get to the level I am at right now. If I feel like I can't win tournaments anymore, that's another thing. And if I feel like I can't beat the best anymore, that would be another one. So as long as all stars are still aligned, I think you answered it perfectly.
Does that mean it's more physical, or is it mental? Because the physical side of it you were struggling with like 3 years ago, so that's why you weren't having the results. The physicality of your body is great now.
Yes, absolutely. I'm playing with no painkillers for many months now, which is like a big deal at my age, I think, and I can. I really feel like I'm very fortunate that I feel this way right now, and I would sign a piece of paper if I could feel like this for the rest of my life. I would love that.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. But anyway,
I know so, and that's why I'm very happy. I feel the way I do right now, and then I think the mind for me, it's not so much of a struggle, to be honest, because the traveling is okay. I have a great time on the tour. Practice is not a problem. You know, taking pictures, signing autographs, doing interviews, all that stuff is normal for me. And I can always motivate myself for another practice or another match, you know, so that's not the issue. So I think it would just get hard if I didn't feel well and just felt like something's always bothering me, the game's not there anymore, and I start to get unhappy on the tour about my results. You know?
I think the main thing of what I know about you and what I've seen, and you just love playing tennis.
Yeah, I love
mean,
playing tennis.
actually just love this environment.
Yeah, and I like to compete more than I like to practice, even though I've also gotten to enjoy, you know, practice, because I always feel there's always something to improve. Tennis is very interesting for that. But at the end, I'm a match player. I've always wanted to be on the match courts and not on the practice courts. So that's why I love being still involved in this event right now.
We like to think of our crack production team here at ESPN as match players too, right? They get pumped up when you're out there. They try to come up with something new all the time, right?
What do they got?
Because you've been around for a while. So we wanted to show this to you. This is sort of in celebration of you winning your 100th title. So watch along with us, and we think they did a pretty nice job on this. Their coach in there.
Even the coach, I had to go through him too. He knows.
Yeah.
That's a great graphic.
Yeah.
Really well done.
Yeah.
So far, so good.
Not bad, huh? 100.
Not bad.
Maybe 101 in a couple of days.
Well, yeah, we thought the same in Indian Wells, but then we messed that one up. But Dominic played great. So no, very nicely done. You know what I like about the 100? It shows that I've played also not only the slams, because so many people talk about slams, but there's so much Masters 1,500, 250s. Almost those tournaments I like the most because they're a bit more personal, they're more smaller, you're closer to the fans. You have maybe a bigger affiliation with that tournament, because when you come into a slam or a tournament this size, 400 players rock up, you know, so it's it's busy.
Yeah.
I want to tell you something funny. He talked about a story before you went and played your match today. You were so relaxed walking on the court, and we just find you such a unicorn. Like, no player ever just walks on the court like, hey, how's it going? Like, everyone's got very tunnel vision. And why? How can you do that? Like, that's, you know, tennis players. They're also uptight. They do their on-court pre-match interviews. Nobody gives it really great answers. How can you pass that on to somebody else?
Well, I guess for me, it's the only way it works in terms of being able to relax while I'm in this stressful environment. So the moment I walk off the court or the moment the match is over, I go almost into relaxation mode, and then maybe that's what's kept me mentally sane and mentally ready to go for another match tomorrow and not get too tired. You know, I really see it like separated. You know, sort of the player and the person, and so I am a person until I walk on court, and then maybe I go into that tunnel vision. But even then, I'm able to really relax the moment the point is over. I think it's one of my biggest maybe qualities and strengths I have. And I mean, I don't
Did you learn
visualize it. No, I just think it comes naturally. For me, it's the only way to go. That's why I admire how Novak does it or Rafa does it. You know, he's on the other extreme where he's so hyped up and so pumped and so focused. I look towards him, and I think it's amazing how we all can do it differently. And I think they look maybe towards me. It's like, how do I do it? But I do the same towards them, and I admire how they go about it.
Last thing, we appreciate you coming out here.
No
Another guy who was pumped up and into it was a guy by the name of Jimmy Connors.
All right.
109 titles.
Nice.
Any thought in the old Federer head about maybe I could get to 110?
Not really, to be honest. You know, I think that's just such a. I mean, number one, I think it's great we're talking about Jimmy Connors, because sometimes, you know, you talk about other players all the time, and then all of a sudden another player pops up, and you're like, well, that guy did some stuff that's sick as well. You go into his records and how long he played, and he was an amazing player, you know. So, and I know him a little bit through when he was coaching Andy Roddick as well. So I'm really happy talking about him, you know, because he's also one of those guys, you know, who you know, marked the game in a big ways. But for me personally, I don't need to break that record. For me to get to 100 is amazing. I know it seems near, but at the same time, it's still very far. I need to play for years to come. So I I know it's going to be tricky, so it's not a goal of mine.
Hey, last thing that I want to tell you about our crew as well, because we all talk about you. We're kind of, a lot of people are obsessed with you, but Chrissy is really obsessed with you.
Okay.
Because Chrissy,
I
who
heard
who won well over 100 titles as well, who won a lot of Grand Slams, said she never cried when she won Grand Slams, but she says every time you do and you cry, she cries.
All right.
What is up with that?
Win or lose, right?
Well, I don't know. I don't know why that happens, you know. But is it true she called my first match ever today? Is that true?
Yeah, she called your match. Yeah, with Chris
she
Fowler.
did.
Took me a while, huh?
Yeah.
Took me
Yeah,
a while
took
to
a
get
while.
there for Chrissy to commentate on my match. But I don't know. I'm happy
She didn't cry.
She feels for me when I win that she gets emotion attached to that as well. Because I'm actually, in some ways, I was very embarrassed in the beginning when that all happened. You know, when I started crying winning. But then looking back, I'm actually happy it did happen because they are more memorable for me, those moments now.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of fans around the world can relate
They
to that
want you
as
to
well
keep
as the
crying.
fans here
All right.
at the Miami Open. So thank you, Roger Federer.
You're welcome. Thank
well
you.
done today. Good luck against Kevin Anderson. That's coming up for Roger tomorrow. When we come back, we'll say hello to Mr. John Isner, making his way out to center court, taking on the always tough Roberto Bautista Agut here at the Miami Open.